Hi, everyone. We are going to talk about the huge shifts of energy in August, and we're going to look at the retrograde planets. We have 5 of them, including Mercury retrograde. We're going to talk about the Leo season. We're going to talk about the impact of all these outer planets, which are very slow moving, and so they have a big effect on us. We're going to talk a little bit about retrograde and how that affects us because it has a 1, 2, 3 punch energy to it. I also recommend that you take out your natal chart and a big piece of notebook paper or a binder and take some notes because everyone will be affected by these changes. My name is Ev Zervadakis. If you don't already know me, welcome to our channel here. What the purpose is to educate you on how astrology works, how astrologers forecast, how astrologers can glean insights from the stars above, the cosmic fingerprints and weather, and how that affects you. I do natal chart forecast, psychic mediumship readings. If you're interested in any of that, the information is below in the description. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact me. The best is to schedule a discovery call through our website at Holistic Healing Astrology. So without further ado, let's take a look at the planets. What I like to do is share the screen so you could see how I maneuver through the tools, just in case you're a new astrologer and you're working with software programs. I like to teach as I go, and we have a lot to cover because there's a lot of action in the chart, and because all the action that's taking place is moving from that heavy earth type energy into lighter fire and air type energy, which makes things move faster. So without talking too much about the past, we have to understand that the holistic part of this practice is to look at everything, not just the little components. We like to look at the big picture and then move into the details. So pardon me for the interruption. I will turn off the phone right now, and I'm going to. So let's take a look at the ephemeris. Ephemeris is the positioning of the planets. So we have what's going on here in retrograde. I like to start with the outer planets, which are to the right, and then we're going to move left. Chiron is retrograde. That is an asteroid. Pluto is retrograde. Neptune is retrograde. Saturn is retrograde. And Mercury will be retrograde on the 5th of this month of August. Okay. So that is a lot to cover. We also have to look at the moon phases. For example, the new moon is going to be in Leo right here, 12 degrees. So if you have anything 12 degrees in any fixed sign, you're going to feel this new moon. Everything is on steroids. Everything is escalated. Everything is like dramatic because it's Leo. And Leo is also the inner child. And it is where you have to be creative. You take risks. It's a fire sign. It's exciting. And there's a lot of air and fire. So, if you have a lot of air with fire, it just makes the fire bigger. And we've seen it all around. I can't even keep up with all the news. And so the theme of the news is, and the theme of everything in the world is, if you distill it and boil it down to two things, it is good, bad, evil, spiritual. Okay. So you have to look at, is it destructive or is it creative? Keeping that in mind, you'll have no issues. So I am a Christian. That's my background. And I believe in a creator. And that's a whole nother subject. But there are a lot of revelations. And the last one that I saw was that big blackout in Paris after the big hullabaloo with the Olympics and all this symbolism and Satanism. And then there's a huge blackout, which I think is very interesting because black, dark, no light. You know, Christianity and spirituality, it's like light and dark. So this is what we're all looking at before our eyes. And it's an awakening, which has to do with Pluto in Aquarius, because Aquarius has to do with awakening. You see, so I would love to have discussions in these video chats below and just put down what you're feeling, because it's not about me, it's about you. So that being said, there was only one building in all of Paris that had light. And it's been documented all over social media because social media is now our way of communicating somewhat. You know, it's not 100% open and truthful, but it's maybe a little better than that controlling Capricorn type of energy with mass media about big money, big corporation controlling us. So the thing right now with all these planets retrograde is the message is to go within, to go connect with your creator and discern and find out for yourself. But the only building, going back to that had any light was, believe it or not, one of the oldest and biggest churches in Paris. So everything is getting to be more and more dramatic, but that is part of the Leo energy that we've gone into. So just to see where is Leo, Leo right now is the sun. We have to look at the sun. So last month, at the end of the month, it was in 0 degrees, but the 1st of August, it will be 9 degrees Leo. And the sun and the moon are very personal, but they never go retrograde. The nodes are usually retrograde, but they're very personal too. And then the big thing we're going to look at are, you know, the retrogrades. Mercury retrograde is a short term, 3 weeks. So if you haven't seen any of the videos about Mercury retrograde and you want more information, you could check in our channel and see there's tons of information because it's the same theme. Mercury has to do with communication, okay? But we also have the energy of Venus, which is going to change signs at the end of the month to Libra. And it just, and Virgo, the first change, the shift is going to be right here on the 6th. So with this new moon, we're going to have a lot going on. Then we'll dive a little deeper, but I want to give you a summary. So if you have anything with 0 degrees Virgo, check and see where money, the representation of Libra and Venus, because they go together, 7th house. So Venus is all about money, all about love and attraction, what's attractive, and everything that has to do with our comfort and the earth. And it's going into Virgo, and it's going to stay there most of the month. And then at the end of the month, it's going to switch to its ruling sign of Libra, which will give it a lighter feel. Right now, it's going to feel a little heavy. But if you haven't seen the news, there's a lot going on with the quality of our food and contamination and such like that. We also have Mars in Gemini. And Gemini, again, has to do with Mercury communication because they go together. And so there's a lot of forceful energy, a lot of aggression, just a lot of action oriented communication, teaching, training, um, writing, publishing, learning about. So, and it also could be things that will trigger aggression, wars, and things like that. Then we move on to Jupiter, which expands everything and makes things bigger. It's also in Gemini, but it's together with Mars. If you want further insights and you understand astrology a little bit, then I always recommend the astrologer on YouTube called Pam Gregory. She's one of my teachers. I follow her. She has a nice demeanor. She keeps it light and positive. It's none of this fear and doom and gloom stuff. We both practice Western astrology, and she's right on YouTube. She's Pam Gregory, and make sure you don't go on the site where they steal her identity. Pam Gregory astrologer, and then you'll get deeper insights because there's so much going on and you're really into this. I like to share my resources. There are many more, but she's the one that I go to amongst others. And the other retrograde now is Saturn. Saturn has to do with constriction, but it also has to do with karma and everything you worked hard for, what you worked up to. And it is in Pisces. And of course, Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. And it is conjunct with Neptune, which is also retrograde. You see? So it's now it's moving a little bit away from Neptune, Saturn, but they do a dance. Planets do a dance because some of them are moving forward. So if you think of like a 20-lane highway or just multiple lanes on a highway, and each planet is in their own path or lane. So when a car is moving faster than another car, it might seem like it's going backwards. That's what a true retrograde is, because none of the planets really go backwards. It's an optical illusion, but the energy part is real. So when planets are retrograde, it's a time just to go inward, to review, to discern, to pray, to be introverted. And that is the big theme. It's do not react, go inward, get answers from your higher source, whatever it may be. God, I use this time right now. That's why I'm laying very low with my social media, especially TikTok, because all that has changed on that channel. And I'm focusing on my scheduled YouTube channel content and my Facebook, Instagram, and blogs and newsletters. That's enough. I'm done playing games with the TikTok, but I'm here to give you information that you could sink your teeth into. TikTok, you're not going to learn anything in 3 minutes. You have to make a commitment to fully understand the big picture. As I digress. So let's go back to Saturn. Saturn has to do with blocks. It has to do with obstacles. It has to do with realism. It has to do with discipline, responsibilities. These are all key words. So depending on where the 18 degrees is in your chart, and you notice it goes 18, 17, and 16 degrees, then you could see what house is it impacting in your chart, and what other planets is it impacting your chart. But we are having a major Pisces energy here, and Jupiter, because they're both mutable, right? And they're square with one another. So square means you have to do something. We can't just ignore it. So that means we have to take action. And then the action planet is also in that area too, with the square. So you have to see, what does that mean to you? So you have to control how you react. That you can control. So remember that the chart and the planets do not dictate what is going to happen to you. They're just influences. Like if we say the weather outside is going to be stormy and it may rain, you might have flooding, then you have to plan your day accordingly. Same thing with astrology. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose your home and everything is going to flood out. That's why you have your higher self. That's why we have the law of attraction, where you put the intention, which is always done on the new moon, which will be August 4th. And you could put your intentions on maybe going into serving your inner child and taking care of the creativity, what makes you happy, what is good fun for you. Okay. It's a vacation time period. All right. So it's not about doom and gloom. If you like doom and gloom, you'll have to go to another channel where they focus on the doom and gloom and predict that kind of stuff. But honestly, you don't have to, they're not always right. So you just have to roll with the punches right now. And we're getting a lot of punches. That is for sure. And you just have to stay engaged with nature, because the Venus in Virgo is nature, animals, plants, earth, that kind of energy. That will help ground you. And also the Uranus, which is in Taurus, which also has to do with grounding. So that's the next planet I'm going to look at. It's Uranus has to do with all these surprises, all this sudden and shocking, assassination attempts, the Olympics, the twist and turn. Celine Dion, all of a sudden, she went from stiff human whatever syndrome that she has, and she's gonna die and stuff, and she resurrects herself to do a command performance that was fascinating, and it was just cataclysmic, right? So the world is changing at a very rapid pace. That is all Uranus type energy. It also is the ruling planet of Aquarius. So we will talk about Aquarius right here with Pluto in Aquarius, right? It has to do with electronics, lightning bolts. It has to do with, because it's in Taurus, we've seen a lot of earthquakes. We've seen a lot of lightning strikes and things like that. Awakening, a higher perspective, scientific stuff. We saw the rocket, I forgot the name of it, that was out there, that Elon Musk put out there. So there's a lot going on, even with the way we store information is up in a cloud. And that has to do with the Pluto Aquarius. But Uranus is part of that. And it's also part of the 11th house in any zodiac chart. The 11th house, Uranus, and Aquarius go together. So it will be moving out of this heavy Taurus energy and going into Gemini, which will make things very enlightening as far as information, knowledge, knowing, and many more discoveries with research and electronics and futuristic things, if that makes sense. So the big chaos and confusion that we're seeing right now, and it also has to do with spirituality and that area of going with the flow and being in a fog and just magical place, is Neptune. And Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So we do have Pisces energy activated here with Saturn, you see. But what's very special about this Neptune 29 degrees Pisces as it's retrograding, it started at 29 degrees 57 minutes, which is like 3 degrees away from the brand new zodiac cycle of Aries. Now, this is huge because there's an urgency whenever we talk astrology and 29 degrees, because it's the end of the road. It's like you got to finish. In other words, your lease is up. You got to move. Your contract is over. You have to renew a contract. Your insurance policy is done. It's an end, the end of something, because of the cycle. But the end of what? All this Neptune stuff. Neptune has to do with spiritual stuff, the invisible world, the magical places, the miracles in life, God, isolation, that area of life that reflects the 12th house, which is what people don't see when you're all by yourself, not with your partner, when you're totally isolated by yourself, whether it's in the dream state or you're in the meditative state, or it also means escape, where you are under the influence. Besides meditation, some people just need a couple of drinks or medication, anything to help them escape. But that's part of the addiction that has to do with Neptune as well. Okay. So I'm breaking it down, but you see how many moving parts are going on right now. And then we'll look at the big circle so you can see how everything is connected. But I find that when I use the ephemeris, that you could visibly see the numbers, 29 degrees, 42 minutes, retrograde, and this is the date over here on the left, just in case you don't realize it. This is Greenwich Standard Time, but right now, or Greenwich Mean Time, but I'm in Virginia Beach, so everything is calculated for Virginia Beach, okay? So location means everything in astrology. If you have any questions, post them up below so we could get the answers out to you as soon as possible. So Neptune also has to do with, like I said, anything invisible, which has to do with viruses. So there could be another virus situation that comes up in September, which is right around the corner. It's right after August. And so it's just like we've already been through this. So it's to keep yourself grounded and focused on what you can control. Okay. So Neptune also has to do with, on the light side, and the bright side has to do with imagination, not creativity. Leo's a creativity, but your imagination, and hypnosis and dance and music, singing, you see, all that, which helps you escape, right? It's also being in a fog. If you've ever driven down the highway where there's so much rain that you can't see anything except white, that's also that Neptune type energy. So I hope you have a good feel for the Neptune 29 degrees. So like I said, the 29 degrees means that it is on steroids. It's very intense until next year when it goes into Aries. And then it's going to be like, whew, fire. It's going to move fast, and it's going to get us into a let's move forward type energy. Let's be bold and let's kick up the spirituality. So we've got a lot going on between now and next year, between the world just moving quickly with all the politics. We have a United States election. We have changes in the economics of the world, the money systems. And so just try to stay positive with all this. Now, the last one, or second of the last, is Pluto. And then we'll do Chiron because it's an asteroid. But we have to talk about Chiron because it's has to do with healing and wounds, pain, suffering, trauma. But Pluto is the great transformer. It is regeneration. It takes you from what you were to what you're going to be, but it takes a while. It takes years. And Pluto can retrograde over the same area in your chart 7 times. That's very impactful. Most other planets retrograde 3 times. It's a 1, 2, 3 punch. So the first punch is like, hey, there's a start of something that I better take care of and look into retrograde. Then you're going to outwardly take some action. Then you're going to say, okay, what do I need to do next? That's in the middle. And then the third thing is last chance, romance. And then you move out of that 1, 2, 3 punch of the retrograde. I hope that makes sense to you. But Pluto's retrograde could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe 7. So especially if you have something in your chart that is, maybe in 29 degrees Capricorn, those people got hit up quite a bit. But Pluto represents a loss because, look, when you lose something, you have to let go of it. What can you lose? You could lose your job. You could lose your pension. You could lose your partner. You could, through death. You could lose your mind. You could lose a lot of stuff. But the way the planets are set up, it gives you a clue of what particular losses could you be involved with, and then you can move forward. Does it mean it's going to happen? Well, not really, because it just means that you got to let go. So if you're in a bad relationship and you're not letting go of this abusive partner that is a narcissist, well, eventually the person's going to leave you. So the thing is, are you going to wait to be dumped on, or are you going to leave them first? Because it's something that has to happen. The same thing with it. I see this every day. They're in a horrible job and they're being abused with toxic people. Toxicity also is Neptune, but sometimes we don't see the toxicity because we're in the clouds, right? Well, Pluto will just say, we're done. We're over. Think of that fire hose. If you ever seen a fire hose, that force of the water, or Niagara Falls, if you've ever been there, that force of that water, that's a Pluto, Scorpio, 8th house type energy. Okay. So it's going backwards in 0 degrees, and 0 degrees is the beginning of a new cycle. So we had a taste from 2022. It was March 23rd, 2023, that we got a good taste of 0 degrees Aquarius. That was when I believe it was a big electronic thing that happened, and I can't remember, but maybe it will come to me. But it has to do with technology and knowing and an elevation of understanding. It's also a very detached energy. Like I said, it's scientific, it's futuristic, but it's also electronic as well. And it has to do with the whole world. Oh, that's when ChatGPT went viral. Okay, if you remember that. So we got a taste of what we can do with the genius, because Uranus, Aquarius, they go together, is genius, and it's also very original and unique. Okay, so once Pluto goes into Capricorn, which you'll see next month. See, that will be on the 3rd day of September. And then it will be the last chance that big corporation, all this controlling of the money, the banking systems, the stock exchange, Bitcoins, everything, anything that has to do with big corporations, anything that controls us, uh, mass media, all these big, the FDA, the CDC, the FBI, the IRS, all those things are going to be impacted. Remember what I said about the 29 degrees? What does that mean? Remember, urgency, obsession, OMG. So the people of power are really going to rear their ugly heads. And right now, as we said in the beginning, it's a spiritual battle. It's light and dark. So it's love and fear. And Capricorn has to do with big money and fear. You know, it's like, you're not going to get your Social Security. IRS is going to knock on your door and take all your money. You can't buy a house because it needs 3 to 4 incomes to purchase one house. The prices of houses have doubled, if not tripled. The cost of living has gone up and up. So we're at the peak now. And this is where I believe that humanity is going to gather together and peacefully just say, enough is enough. We're not going to fund you anymore. So you can make us scared and take all our money and do nothing for it. That's the big awakening. That's what I believe. But look here, that's the whole month of September and October. You see how long it's going to be in 29 degrees? So this is a long-term, slow change. Is it going to be intense? Oh, hell yeah. We're going to have so much unbelievable stuff is going to happen. Am I going to tell you doom and gloom stuff? Well, listen, Pluto's bad enough, but it's for the best, out of the ashes of that burnt structure rises the phoenix. That's what Pluto and Scorpio, 8th house, is all about. And then here it is, mid-November, after the election, because during the election we still have this intensity. Isn't that crazy? Well, and I'm doing several YouTubes about the election because there's so much to unravel. I mean, even the people participating in the election keeps changing, you see? So we have the big irreversible changes with Pluto, which it could mean a change of government. Maybe we'll have a couple new amendments added on, our Constitution. We don't know. But in my last newsletter, I put a little refresher on government because I personally forgot the mechanics of our government. The House, the Senate, how many seats, what happens with the electoral votes, how many electoral votes do you need? What happens if a president steps down from the election platform, as a candidate? What happens if the president does not go to full term? Personally, according to the charts that I'm looking at, I don't feel like Biden's going to make it to full term. It's in the chart and my intuition. Okay. So God bless him. He's an older man. So that means that Kamala Harris will be the next president before the election. Isn't that interesting? So there are a lot of mechanical things going on. Just think of them as gears in this big system of all these gears, because the big system has the little systems. And that's what's going on. And then at the middle, towards the end of November, then we'll be smooth sailing with great, like Elon Musk type energies of science, electric, and improving on electricity. Maybe we'll all get free electricity. Yay, yay. Maybe we won't have to go to airports anymore. We could just go into a teleporter, like in Star Trek, and say, beam me up, Scotty, and then you're in your new location instead of going to the airports. But a lot of stuff is going to happen. This is a 20-year cycle. Okay. So the next 20 years are going to be very innovative, and very rebellious, but very humanitarian. So, I get a feeling of Atlantis. Remember back in the day what Atlantis was all about? This kind of energy, like with technology and things that we're going to do. The last thing I'm going to look at right now, and you see how long this is taken, and I didn't even go to the round circle. So I hope this is informative for you. Chiron. So Chiron is the asteroid that has to do with healing, trauma, suffering. But if you cut your finger, it's going to heal. If you've had emotional trauma and pain, suffering, you're going to heal eventually. Okay. So you could look at the planet as either trauma or healing. I don't know, because everybody's chart is different, but you will heal. It's up to you to take the steps and the action that's going to help you heal. So because it's in the area of Aries retrograde, Aries has to do with me, self, personal, me first. I want to be first. So it's like, hey, we have to all individually, independently heal ourselves. That's going to be the next step. And it's a fiery sign. So it's going to be like, quick, quick, quick. But we will heal. And it's a cardinal sign. And you have to look and see, well, what other cardinal signs are going to be impacted? Right here, Mars. You see? So let's go back to today, and see that it's 23 degrees. It's still retrograde. See? And this is impacting, pardon me, it's impacting the cardinal signs, which will eventually be Pluto, and the Aries here with Black Moon Lilith in Libra towards the end of the month. So that's how we do it. And so it's not a huge impact, but we felt it last month with the full moon a couple of weeks ago, right? So that was a big healing. It was the start of the healing. So now we're going to go into the sky now, and we're going to look at August 1st. Here we go. And I'll just move myself out of the way. So for you people that understand astrology, this grid over here is an aspect grid, and it will show you the different aspects that the sun has and the moon all the way across. So when we look at transits, it's good to look at the outer planets because they move the slowest and they have the biggest impact. All right, that's how we do the forecast. And then you could do the aspect list or report, and you could see, okay, what planets are involving Pluto, Neptune. You see there's an opposition with the sun and Pluto, right? So that means there's a need to balance this change that we're going through. And we have to go into our inner child. So let's look at the first day of August. And the first things that come up is we're going to have the new moon. And the new moon is going to be in Leo. So let's just jump ahead because we already talked about the retrograde planets. And when the new moon by definition is when it's exactly 12 degrees of Leo, the sun, and we're going to move it a couple of hours, and then you'll see that the moon at, let's say, August 4th, 2024, around 7:30 Eastern time is going to be in Leo, 12 degrees. So what you need to look at is, all right, what is happening in your chart, 12 degrees? And you could compare the two. But there's also, if you look at the sun and the moon, right, because they're together, there's opportunities to take action and for manifestation and good luck and getting good news uh, to for you to take action. Okay, see, these are action planets, and Jupiter is magnifying. So you're going to have plenty of information so you could move forward. Check out and see anyone that has anything in 15 degrees of Gemini. Like my son is in 15 degrees Gemini, and among other things. So it's no surprise that major big things are happening to me, because that's the sun, that's where I shine, and it's affecting big changes in my personal life, like moving and vacation and all kinds of stuff. I mean, just lots of action. And it's like one thing after another thing. And there is a lot of triggering to my natal Uranus, which has to do with shocking, surprising, sudden, unexpected, exciting energy, right? Is it bad? No, but I have to, whoa, slow it down and just take it chunk by chunk at a time. But it is, that's why I'm just backing off from a lot of the extroverted type things that I'm doing. I am still making the commitment to my readings and such, but most everything else that I don't need to do, I'm not doing, because there's so much on a plate that you could do. So this is big and expansive. So the big impact is 15 degrees of Gemini in your chart. Or then the lesser one is going to be any 15 degrees of any mutable sign, which would be uh, the Pisces, right? And Sagittarius. Those are mutable, and Virgo, right? Those are all mutable, and they each have their own element. So the Virgo would be very earthy and that kind of tone. The Sagittarius will be more adventurous and expansive and more fun, adventurous. And then the third one would be very spiritual. When you're all by yourself, you may want a cocoon or whatever. So that's how it will impact your own personal chart. Anything with the mutable signs, 15 degrees, you will be impacted. Okay. So that's the first thing, the new moon. This is when you do your new moon intentions. So put it out there, because you will be able to manifest with this new moon. The new moon is going to be in a fixed sign. Okay. So 12 degrees, any fixed sign, and that will be Scorpio is fixed, and Aquarius is fixed, and so is Taurus. And Taurus is the earthy one. Aquarius is the air, faster one, intellectual one, social one. And then this is more Scorpio, the emotional one, where it will take that kind of energy. All right. So we're moving through this huge, expansive time period. So now the next thing we want to look at, I believe it's the next day, we're going to have, yes, so Venus is going to move into a new sign. Venus has to do the next day, we're going to move it forward. There she is. Venus has to do with money, has to do with love, has to do with things that make you attractive, cosmetics, all that. But it also has to do with food. And it's in Virgo, which has to do with health, wellness, your food, your routines. And it's in 0 degrees. So it's a brand new energy, like I said before, but it's also together with the moon and Mercury, which is retrograde. So it's time now to rethink about your money, rethink about the food. Maybe it's time to grow things. If you have a yard, that's what we're doing. I mean, look, you could get all kinds of stuff out of the earth in your own little garden, all your herbs, maybe some summer vegetables and tomatoes and things you could freeze, put a couple fruit trees in, maybe some nuts and things like that. What do you think? I mean, why not? We don't have to use Roundup all the time. To who said we have to have green grass, have to cut it, put Roundup. We don't want the weeds. You know that dandelions, they're edible. They're very good for you. Look it up on the internet. Dandelions are really good for you. It's a diuretic. It just flushes the toxins out of your body. So I feel like we're going to really embrace the herbal components and the earthy components of the world right now. And we'll probably be doing a lot of studying information about it and then move forward. Now, I do want to note, see these cues, they're quintiles, which means urgencies, lots of urgencies. Like, oh my God, you know, this manic type energy. And it has to do with Black Moon Lilith, which has to do with, you know, darker energies, but they empower you. So whatever abuse you may have gone through, you learn from it and you move forward. It has to do also with our purpose, and it has to do with restrictions and your boundaries. There's a lot going on. Now, if you feel like you would like to have a natal chart done and a forecast of some sort, you could schedule with me through a text or get on the calendar. And so now we're going to move forward. So we have an ingress. It's called an ingress. And we are going to pause for a second. So let's talk about this confusion and chaos. Has everything to do with Neptune in Pisces. And it has to do with political tension. That's that Pluto opposing right here, the sun. Okay. So that's the overall temperature of this month of August. And then we've had an assassination attempt. That's when Mars and Uranus were together. Okay. So that's crazy times too. And there's very much leadership confusion because we have the sun in Leo, which is trine this Neptune right here, you see? And it's a trine, which means there's just a flow of confusion for everybody, right? We are in dangerous times and there's always unexpected twists. And that has to do with this Uranus energy and all this triggering. These are all aspects. The red ones are the squares and the oppositions. Oppositions are a tug of war. You're pulled from the other side, you're pulled from that side, back and forth. That's a lot of action. Squares is a lot of action too. You just have to do something, you see? So now I'm going to move forward and give you more insights on the hatred that's going on. So let's just move along day by day, and you'll see how these aspects are moving. And the big guys to watch for is the Pluto is 0 degrees, Neptune in 29 degrees, Saturn in 18 degrees. So any mutable signs between 18 to 29 degrees, you're going to be impacted. Uranus, 26 degrees Taurus, you're going to be impacted. Any fixed sign, 26 degrees. All righty. And the moon is your moods. That is not a big deal, but look and see now. We got Mercury that has made contact with Venus. So I believe there's going to be more information out about our food, about our economy, about earth, earthy stuff, and also about our finances. Okay. Taurus also has to do with personal finances, and Scorpio has to do with um, banking and big picture finances, if that makes sense. So as we move through, you could see the clustering of these planets, like Mars and Jupiter are staying together the whole first week. We have Neptune, North Node staying together in this, you know, Pisces and Aries situation. And then we have the South Node and Black Moon Lilith with relationships. And Black Moon Lilith also represents all the satanic stuff, all the human trafficking, all the, you know, that's a spiritual warfare too. The children are being exploited through pornography and being used as objects, being bought and sold. That's terrible, you know. So that will all come to an end. So here's, you got the healing, and we are all going to heal from this because of the Quinta Chile to the purpose. We're going to let go of these toxic relationships and move towards a more spiritual type population, who you are. I cannot tell you how many people have had a spiritual awakening themselves and a spiritual uplifting where they're not in a dark place anymore. And that is great, but it's all up to you, you see. So as we move through, you could see that the moon is whipping around as it does, but you know, Mercury now is going to change signs mid-month. Okay, it's still making aspects to Neptune, so there's going to be a lot of confusing information, and that's because of social media and that censored and energy and censorship on the big platforms of cable news and everything else. That doesn't make sense, right? And then we have, so we're one more day and I believe we will move into, so now Black Moon Lilith is in Virgo, and we also have Neptune in, Mercury in Leo. So now the information is more lighthearted. Let's have fun, the inner child. Let's take some risks. Let's go on vacation, that kind of energy. And Pluto is still at 0 degrees, you see. And then you see now around the 19th that Black Moon Lilith and Venus are getting closer together. So this might be a woman's rights type issue because Venus is feminine, but it also could be money issue, negative issues, but it's also empowerment. But it's like a process. Black Moon Lilith is an abstract point, and it's a process where you're abused, you went through dark times, and then you emerge from that. You're empowered from that. It's also the hidden side of you. So we all will grow from this big time, okay? And then things are pretty much status quo. And what you do is you see how the closer that Jupiter and Mars get together, the more intense the energies combined. All right. So this whole month is going to be intense. Are we going to have a war? Let's hope not. But there might be a lot of discussion about aggression. You know, Saturn also has to do with fear. So look, we got Saturn square, mutable Pisces with mutable Gemini. It's exact. So there's going to be a lot of working out a lot of struggles. And it's like you have to do something. That's a square in astrology. It's work, but it's also you know, it takes energy. So, but you get through it. So it's going to be very intense now in August, around August, the end of August, the 22nd, because it is exact, right? And but Saturn is moving backwards. So what does that mean? It will come forward again and contact the Jupiter in Gemini one more time. And Mars is in there too, which is aggression. It's like, people hating, anger, all that energy. See how that's playing out in your chart. You see how this is working out? It's very critical. So it's still 17 degrees and it will be that way for days. And now we have on the 27th of August, and I'm going to look at my notes because we also have a full moon on the 19th of August. So we can't forget that. Let's go back and see on the 19th of August, we have the full moon, which is the moon is here, the sun is here, and you see this need to balance, and that's a time to release. So they're in fixed signs, which means it might be a little harder to release. So this is about all the scientific, detached energy, that genius energy, but it's cold emotion, scientifically charged, and it also has to do with electronics and the future. And then this is like, I just want to have fun, and can we just play? Because this is, let's talk about our vacation. Let's just go on vacation. You see, that's what the new moon is going to do. So it's a time to release all the things that don't serve you anymore. And you look at your chart to see what you need to release, right? So I'm glad that we did not miss that part of it. And then we also see that at the end of the month, we have the closing of the month, and Neptune is still in 29 degrees, still going retrograde. Saturn's still retrograde. Chiron's still retrograde. So go within, guys. And Mars and Jupiter are still conjunct. It's not as tight, but it's still impacting us. And Pluto is still in 0 degrees. So those are the points that you got to look at in your natal chart. And then at the end of the month, because these times here are very volatile, because anytime you have, with other planets like Venus, and it's just flowing, it's a strong energy. And then flowing into sudden, surprising, and unexpected changes with our comfort level with the earth, right? And then, but we are guided by angels. Don't forget, we have a lot of spirituality in the chart too. And look and see in your chart how that spiritual function is going to work for you. So it is a big, big, big cluster, okay? If you pardon the expression. But so with the Neptune fantasy, delusional, like escapism energy, and this major, the end of the old, the beginning of the new, let's get rid of it all. Let's start all over. It's like a big demolition, okay? And to recap, it's a major healing that we all have to endure, and it's surprising, shocking, and unexpected stuff. It's aha moments. It's like, oh, but you see, everything has to do with spirituality too. You see, it's going to make you guys wake up. So let's pray that we have no more wars. Let's pray that we don't repeat history, and let's work together. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to contact. Thank you again. Be looking out for more videos from me in the future, and keep those requests coming. I'll be making videos on what a natal chart is, and what is holistic healing astrology, and how we forecast as astrologers. And we are here to help you. Astrology is a major metaphysical tool. And as we speak, we have joined forces now, the astrologers with the psychologists of the world. And you'll be seeing another video on Carl Jung. It was just his birthday. And, after someone passes, it still has a chart. You still have a chart. So I want to do a little video on that. Carl Jung was a famous astrologer and psychiatrist, psychologist back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, up to 1960s, where he melded spirituality, woo-woo, with psychiatry. Phenomenal. And that will be a great video to look at. So if you haven't already subscribed and you like what you heard today, go ahead and subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when all the videos come out. They come out at least once a month, but now because of our tumultuous times, you're going to get far more of them. So take care, all my love, until we meet again. I love you guys, and bye-bye.